Well, life on the farm, a kind of laid back, ain't much an old country boy me can't hack. Early to rise, early in the sack, I thank God I'm a country boy. Well, a simple kind of life never did me no harm, raising me a family and working on the farm. Days are all filled with an easy country charm, thank God I'm a country boy. Well, I got me a fine wife, I got me old fiddle, when the sun's coming up, I got cakes on the griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny riddle, thank God I'm a country boy.
Hey, welcome back. Today's objectives are to identify how to name hydrocarbon chains that are bent and that have other attached groups to them.
So these carbon chains can be kind of deceiving because a carbon chain, it can actually bend and fold, much like a piece of spaghetti can kind of bend and move around. So when you look at these chain molecules, here's two examples. The first one here has 8 carbons in a line, so we would call that an octane. This one, even though it looks completely different, is still an octane. It still has 8 carbons in a line. It just looks bent.
So what we're going to do in this tutorial is look at a couple straight chains that bend a little bit, and they're going to have attached groups to them. So if we look at this one, we have a straight chain, and then we have a little bend in that straight chain, and we're going to learn how to name these attached groups.
So next we're going to take a look at the actual rules you're going to follow when you name these molecules. And as we look at the rules, we're going to apply them to the molecule you see at the top there, and eventually come up with whatever this thing is supposed to be called. First rule, every single time, is find the longest continuous chain. I like to draw a circle around those chains when I find them, just so you don't lose track. The second thing you do is number that chain. Number the carbons in the chain, starting at whichever end is closest to the attached group. Since the attached group is here, it's closer to the left-hand side, so this carbon is number 1, and you go down the chain 2, 3, 4, and 5. Rule 3 says identify and name the attached groups, which kind of goes along with Rule 4, assigning numbers to those attached groups. Since the attached group is just one single carbon, we call that a methyl, and it's attached to carbon number 2 of the backbone chain, so that number goes out in front, and we call it a 2-methyl. The final stage is to simply assemble the name. The proper way to do that is to put the backbone last. The backbone here is pentane because it's 5 carbons long, and any attached groups like our 2-methyl get listed out front alphabetically, the final name being 2-methylpentane.
Alright, we're going to go over another example here. We have multiple attached groups on this example. The first rule is to find the longest continuous chain. So we found it, voila, and we're going to number that chain starting with the left side because the first branch comes closer to the left side than the right. This is going to be a heptane because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 carbons. Notice that we put the ane ending because there are no double bonds found in that chain. Our next 2 steps are to identify and name the attached groups and assign a proper number. So we have 2 attached groups. We have a 4-ethyl and we have a 2-methyl. And the last part is to assemble the name, which we kind of did with those steps. Note that we're not putting them in numerical order, we're putting them in alphabetical order. So we have ethyl starts with the E, methyl starts with an M. Because ethyl is first alphabetically, it becomes 4-ethyl 2-methyl heptane.
Okay, so here's another example. First thing you do every time, find the longest continuous chain. Notice there's a bend in that chain this time. You got to be careful and watch for those. We can also now put the name of the backbone. There's 9 carbons here. That makes this a nonane. And again, notice the ane because it's all single bonds. Rule 2, number the chain starting at the end closest to the attached groups. That's going to be the left-hand side. So we number like this. Next is identify and name the attached groups. There are 3 of them in this case. And they're all ethyl. So we have a 3-ethyl, a 4-ethyl, and a 5-ethyl. Now something special to notice here with these ethyls is they're all exactly the same group. Whenever you have this, and there's several attached groups that are of the same name, we don't list them all out like this. We combine them all into one single phrase of the name, and we call it triethyl. Also, you just have to list out all the numbers out in front. So 3, 4, 5, triethyl. Is the way you're going to write those. Also, if there were an additional attached group, say a methyl, and you would have to alphabetize the 2 attached groups, you ignore the T. We don't alphabetize by the tri or any of the prefixes. You alphabetize by the E of the ethyl and the M of the methyl or whatever other group is attached.
Would you look at this one? Just look at it. It's crazy. There's so many branches coming off of this one. I don't know what to do. Alright, I'll tell you what to do. Just follow these 5 steps. Once again, longest continuous chain. We know we have a heptane. There's 7 carbons, no double bonds. We're going to label from the closest side to the attached groups, which is the left side once again. We will then identify all the attached groups. So we have a 2, 3, 4 trimethyl. Remember to include the prefix because we have 3 of them, and also include the numbers, otherwise we don't know where they go. And the last one there is a 4-ethyl. We have this in alphabetical order. The E comes before the M because we did not take in consideration the prefix. So we have 4-ethyl 2,3,4 trimethyl heptane.
Alright, so that's pretty much the end of the video. Let's recap some of the things you saw. First of all, we dealt with how to name carbon chains that can bend and can fold, so you really have to hunt for that longest continuous alkane chain. You also saw how to name carbon chains with multiple attached groups, methyls, ethyls, etc. Also, one additional comment here, if you noticed in the video, anytime we have an attached group, the prefixes are the same, meth, eth, prop, but, whatever they are, but those endings always got the YL designation, so hopefully you can remember to do that from now on. If you have any questions on anything you saw here, please feel free to bring it to class.